What's going on, everyone? Alex de Silva. I hope you are well and you're having an amazing day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. It has been a while. Apologies. I'm back and I have been to what feels like to hell and back. I'm going to tell you the journey. I'm going to explain why. I hope you're looking forward to this. Let's get started. So, back in June of 2023, I had a car accident, lost control of my car in the rain. The rain was really, really bad. And I ripped my car off. And I talked about this before, about the car accident and, what it has done for me. But what I didn't tell you, because I didn't know, was what was to come. So when I had the car accident, as you guys know through previous episodes, I came out, as I thought, unscathed. On the outside, I looked okay, had a little bit of back problem, but I had kind of tweaked my back just a tiny bit when I was training with a friend at the gym. Had a car accident, went home, took some painkillers, rest, and over time, I felt everything was okay. Carried on as normal, through life with family, children, business, everything. And over time, all of a sudden, my back problems begin. And it begins after a body weight workout, something that I do regularly, as some of you may or may not know. I like to train regularly. I've always trained throughout my whole life. I've done MMA, CrossFit. I've always done weight training, functional fitness. I've always just loved some form of training that helps me to stay healthy in mind, body, spirit. That's just me. I've always enjoyed it. And I was doing a nice workout in the garden. It was a beautiful day. Felt great. The next day I woke up, couldn't walk. Came down the stairs of my old house and collapsed on the floor and couldn't move, basically couldn't move. And that's kind of where things began to sort of just worry me slightly, because I've had back issues before. I've had sciatica, but never anything that was quite as painful and as uncomfortable as what I was experiencing back then. My wife and I found, we were recommended a chiropractor. I've never worked with chiropractors before, and it came recommended because they specialize in spine and the nerves. And to me, that felt like it was a sort of a nerve problem. It felt like something was pinching. And also as well, I was misaligned because of the pain. And I went to see them. They did scans on the spine, on the nerves. They did all this charade. They gave me the whole sales pitch about how wonderful they are and what they can do for me. And they showed me this journey. And I know all of this stuff. I'm in sales. I understand it. But I went more with their reputation and, how they were coming across. So I needed somebody to help me, because by the time I went to see them, I was really struggling to walk. And I was in so much pain that I needed a help. So I wanted to kind of trust them, and I paid for a block booking. And this was over a few months. So this kind of we started this process. I guess by this point it was probably about July time. And we started working together on a weekly basis, and then started to feel better. We did another assessment where they'll scan the spine and they'll scan the nerves. And one of the things they mentioned to me before is that I had an issue with one of my discs. I think it was like a medium case of a degenerative disc problem. So I was like, okay, well, can it be solved? Can we do something about this? Is this okay? And they're like, yes, of course, we can do everything, and, we're going to help you. Don't worry. So I was like, okay, well, I paid for the service, so fingers crossed this will be okay. So we did another assessment, and I started to feel better. The pain was subsiding and I could walk. I could do things, I started to go to the gym slowly, doing things very carefully, because I didn't want to do something that was going to make it worse. So I wasn't training as much as I usually would be, or to the intensity, that I would train. And also, I was obviously following what they were saying to me, as I'm trusting the professionals. So they did the second assessment. I grew by, I went from five. I've always been 178, and all of a sudden I grew like, an inch. So I went from 5'11" to 5'10" to 5'11", which I was really happy about, because I've never, you know. So for me, that was great. I was like, wow, add 2 centimeters to my height. That's brilliant. No, what man's going to complain about that? I've always wanted to be 6'2". So it's not quite 6'2", but 5'11", I'll accept that. I'll take that any day. So I was happy. And I thought, wow, this is cool. I'm feeling good. I felt realigned. I grew, which is really cool, because the realignment, apparently that's something that can help. I don't know. So carried on. One of the things I mentioned was I started to get some sciatic, beginning signs of sciatica on my bum and just above the ankle. I started to feel these things. Wasn't really too sure, but I wanted to mention because they're the experts, and I wanted to make sure that there was nothing wrong or something that they needed to be aware of. So everything that was happening, I was making them aware, because they're working on me constantly. So I want to make sure that I'm not getting worse, but I'm getting better, because they talk about, you got to keep doing this, long term. And obviously, me being a coach, doing what I do, I know the long-term benefits of investing in yourself. So that's exactly what I did. I'm investing in myself. I'm trusting a professional who's has my, best interest at heart, to help me to get to where I want to be. And I had a goal. They wrote the goals down, and we had all of these things planned out. So this is very, from what I saw, it was all very professional. So I told them about the sciatica, as we're working, it's okay. And I've always been told, yes, it's okay, everything is okay, everything is okay. Anyways, cut the story short, we're now coming up to September time. So this has been a few months now. And so this is 7 weeks ago from today. 7 weeks ago from today, I got sciatica. So this is on a Monday morning. I wake up in the morning and I'm in pain. I can feel the sciatic pain. So I was like, okay, I know what to do here. Started doing flossing, doing the things that I'm supposed to do. I've had it through training. That's something that I've had once, maybe twice before. And I haven't really had it a lot, thankfully, because it's not something that I recommend or wish on anyone to go through, because it is very uncomfortable, very painful. So it began. But as time went on, as I got to, one of the things I started to notice is I was getting the sciatic pain, but what was happening is my toe on my right foot was tingling. And I've never had that before. That's not a sign of sciatica as I know it. So I was like, okay, I'm massaging everything, make sure everything is okay. I'm, ice packing. I'm not stretching because I don't want to irritate the nerves. I'm doing all the things that I'm supposed to do, continue. So by this point, this is now Wednesday. So this started on Monday. By Wednesday, I can't sleep in my own bed. I'm having to sleep on a sofa where I'm sitting right now, and I'm uncomfortable. I'm in pain, and it's shooting pain down the back of my legs, shooting pain down the side of my legs where my shin are on both sides, and it's beginning to be constant. By Wednesday now, so this is 3 days in, my foot is tingling. Although, when you sit on your feet for too long and it starts to go numb, I'm starting to get these sensations. And I'm thinking, this is weird. This is not right. So by Wednesday, I then go to the chiropractor again because I had my appointment. They get me to lie down on my front, which is usually what they do. So they'll get you to lie down to relax, and they'll put these blocks underneath you, just to kind of do the realignment, which is something that they do. Honestly, I was in so much agony because I couldn't sleep on my back. By this point, I was in so much agony. I couldn't sleep on my back. I couldn't sleep on either side. I had to find a comfortable position. So where I'm sitting right now, I literally lived in here on this position. If you're watching this on video, if you're listening on audio, it's hard to kind of understand, but I was in a sitting position. I have 4 pillows on the sofa. I piled the pillows up against the back of the sofa, and that's the only way I could sleep in the fetal position, literally upright. So if you imagine a hospital bed where they move, so you can, the back of the bed can go up and down. So imagine not putting it fully up, but I'd probably say about 30 to like maybe 40, 45 degree, that angle where you're not quite upright, but you're just slightly under, where you get that comfortable position where you're not putting any pressure on the spine. And that's where I found some comfort, but I'm still in pain. I'm still getting that shooting pain down down my leg, where the shin is, and it's becoming constant. It's becoming a constant thing, and my feet are continuing to go numb. So the toes are starting to go numb. I'm starting to get that feeling on my feet that is very strange. So this is by Wednesday. So I go to see them, they get me on my front, and I'm trying to lie on my front, and I'm in so much agony to the point where I have to get myself up and almost go into the not downward dog, the child's pose, where you're on your knees and you're kind of stretching your arms out. That's how I was finding comfort. And the chiropractor kept saying to me, no, lie on your front because it will relax you. And I went, this isn't relaxing. I'm in agony. So I went, screw this. I'm going to sit up. So I sat up, chiropractor come in, and I explained to them, look, I cannot lie on my front. I am in so much agony that, and I started getting really emotional. So I sat down, they got me to sit down, and they started to kind of do some bits and pieces on me, nothing really effective. And they booked another appointment for that Friday. So as time then goes by, comes Friday. I had the appointment, went to them on Friday. And by this point, the pain's worse. My foot is now starting to go numb. And I'm worried because I've never experienced this before. I'm starting to get, numbness around, my feet, and just a little bit around, the sort of the side of the shin. I'm thinking, what is going on just above the ankle? And I've never experienced this in my life. I don't know what the hell's going on. And they tried to do the same thing. And when I am not lying on my front, absolutely not. The pain has gotten worse. So I'm telling the chiropractor this. So again, we do some very basic things. I'm there for like 10 minutes and I leave, still leaving exactly the same amount of agony that I was in before. Nothing was sorted. I leave, go home, and I get home, and thank God my wife is at home. And I said to her, because I went to pick the kids up from school, came home, and I said, listen, I need you to come downstairs and help me because I'm in so much pain. I can't, because I will usually pick my son up and take him up the stairs. And I would have like a shopping bag and, school bags and stuff like that. I could carry them up, no problems at all. And this is how much pain I was in. So we live in an apartment, and it's 2 flights of stairs, no lift. So 2 flights of stairs. Kiddies are running up the stairs. My wife is obviously helping. And I've got 2 tray of, there's probably about 20 to 20 eggs, maybe. Let's say between 32 to 40 eggs between 2 trays. I'm carrying 2 trays of eggs. Like I said, anything between, 32 to 40 eggs. Let's just throw them up in here. I don't know. I'm kind of looking at the tray right now. I can't really count it, but, it's around about that figure. So as you can see, it's not heavy. It's not heavy. And that's the only thing I can carry. So I'm carrying this up. By this point, my right foot has gone completely numb and it's dropped. I didn't realize it, but it had dropped. And all of a sudden, I'm walking up the stairs, kind of hobbling up the stairs, and I'm in agony. I get to the top of the second, which is obviously the landing where we are. And my wife comes out and she says, are you okay? And I gave her the eggs and said, please take these eggs. And I collapse on the floor. Now, let me try and describe this to you so you've got a bit of an idea of what I was going through by this point. I'm on my knees screaming. I'm crying because I'm in so much agony, so much pain, literally shooting up my legs all the way into my back. It literally felt like it was just up and down. The lower part of my back, my bum, down my hamstrings, all the way down to my legs. My legs were just, it was constant pain all the way down, bottom of the spine, lower lumbars, all the way down. And I'm crying and crying and crying. I cannot move. I'm in so much pain. My wife obviously takes the kids in because, you know, my wife has never seen me in this situation. So let alone the kids, and they're only little, they're, 2 and 5. So she takes them in, puts a little program on for them, and comes back out to see if I'm okay. I said, I'm really not. Something's wrong here. Can you help me into the bedroom? I couldn't get up. I could just about, and I had to crawl from the top of the stairs into my flat, into our bedroom. And I'm in our bedroom now, and I'm sobbing. It's the only way that I can describe. I'm sobbing and I'm begging. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? Please stop, because I'm in so much pain. And I cannot describe what this feels like. I cannot describe it. My wife is looking at me, and she said to me later on, she goes, you sounded like you were wailing. You were in so much pain. And honestly, there were times I couldn't even remember. I almost felt like at one point I was going to pass out because I was in so much pain. And I have never felt this before. I've had sciatica, I've kind of hurt myself, just through training and stuff like that. But I have never, ever, ever felt anything like this before. I've tweaked my back, doing MMA, doing jujitsu, training, anything. I never felt anything like this. And it scared me. It really, really scared me because by this point, my foot had dropped. My leg now is starting to go numb, and I'm scared. And I said to my wife, listen, we need to call the ambulance because this isn't normal. She calls the ambulance. We start having a conversation. I'm describing what's going on. Thank God the pain starts to ease. And I'm then talking to the lady on the other side of the phone, who was amazing. And she was asking me a number of questions because what she was trying to establish, was it Cauda Equina Syndrome? I was like, what the hell is Cauda Equina Syndrome? And she was asking, am I experiencing numbness? I said, yes. I told her where. By this point, my left foot, so my toe, same thing that happened to the right one, starts to go numb. I'm starting to feel it on my left foot now. So I'm describing this to her, and she's saying, are you losing sensations in your private area? And I said, it's starting to feel a little bit weird. It's starting to feel like I'm getting just a very slight numbness sensation. So as I'm describing these sensations to her, I have no idea what Cauda Equina is. No idea. Never heard of this in my life. She says, okay, listen, we're going to send an ambulance out to you. They'll get there as soon as possible. I said, no problems at all. We get the kids in bed. By this time, it's 7 o'clock. The pain has eased off. I've taken some painkillers. The ambulance arrives. Me being who I am, I'm like, cool, we're going to go. Let's go. Because I'm in pain. I don't want to be here anymore. We need to get this looked at. So I just, in my mind, got up and thought that they were going to take me. So I get up thinking they're going to take me, and they're like, no, sir, we want to ask you some questions. Do you mind if we come in and you sit down? I said, yes. Now, I'm in this sofa and I'm walking, 10 meters? I haven't got a ruler, but I'm kind of going to assume it's about 5-10 meters, which is from the sitting position that I'm in right now on my sofa to the living room door. So that's not really far. So let's say 5 meters at tops. That's how much I walked. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is I'll explain later. They then come in, they sit down, they start asking me questions, and I'm explaining the same thing as I told, when we called the emergency services, and what they're trying to establish as well, is it Cauda Equina Syndrome? Now, this is what blows my mind. The paramedic who's asking me all these questions doesn't know what the symptoms are. He has to Google it in order to confirm what I'm telling him. And I'm telling him that I'm in agony. I found a comfortable position, but I'm in pain. And I'm explaining to them, same thing, my foot is dropped. I've got numbness on my feet. I'm in constant pain. And he said to me, is the groin or the back got numb? And I said, yeah, my groin is starting to go numb. I feel numbness. So again, I know nothing about Cauda Equina, never heard of it. I've never experienced, don't know anybody that's experienced it. Never looked it up before because I just thought it was sciatica. So we start talking, and I'm really emphasizing the fact that I'm in agony, that I've been sleeping on a sofa. This is getting worse. It's not getting better. My foot is gone completely numb now. This is frightening. So with all of this in mind, they refuse to take me to A&E, to the emergency services. They refused to take me. Now, the reason why they refused to take me is because I walked from my sofa to my living room door and back. Now, their assumption was that because I'm able to get up and move, that I'm not critical enough for them to take me. So I'm going to have to find another way. So he said to me, can you find another way? I said, absolutely not. It's me and my wife at home. My kids are in bed. They're 2 and 5. And I am not going on my own. And they're trying to convince me and my wife to go. My wife's like, would you be okay in a cab? And I was like, absolutely not. Because by this point, I can walk from here to the same door and back and I'll collapse because I'm in so much agony. I can walk from here to the toilet or here to my bedroom and I'd collapse. That's how much pain I was in. I could not keep standing for too long. So I'm thinking in my head, I don't want to put myself in jeopardy jumping in a taxi or in a cab. And I know the hospital that they would take me at, where they will drop me, which means that the walk from the cab to the door, it's quite a walk. And if I'm to collapse, and by this point it's 8 o'clock in the evening, if I collapse in the middle of the night, who's going to find me? How on earth am I going to get up and try and get myself to the hospital? And I'm thinking, I'm looking after my own safety. And I'm saying to them, why are you not taking me? I'm in agony here. I'm in absolute agony. I cannot move. What should I do? And their diagnosis was pretty much, well, it's just a bad case of sciatica. This is what they said to me. Take painkillers, and then if you want to go in the morning, you can go in the morning. I took that as, okay, well, with sciatica, let's just see how we are. Take some painkillers. I actually slept okay. I'm still in pain. I wasn't getting a full night's sleep. The weekend went by. I went to see family. I wasn't doing huge amounts of walking because I couldn't, but just wanted to get out of the house, just wanted to get a little bit of fresh air, trusted the professionals and thought, maybe I'll be okay. And Monday comes. Sunday evening, I had the worst night of my life. I probably slept maybe 2 hours, if that, because I was in so much agony. I phoned a friend who's a physiotherapist. Mo, huge shout out to you. You saved my life. And honestly, you truly did, because of you coming to my house and doing what you did and understanding the timelines of it now, you saved my life. You saved my life. So this friend of mine who I've known since school, we've known each other for many years. He's a private physiotherapist, really incredibly knowledgeable. I phoned him up and said, listen, I'm really struggling. I'm in so much pain. I just want some advice. Would you be able to help me? I'm describing everything to him. And he is telling me on the phone already, could it be signs of Cauda Equina Syndrome? And I laughed and said, interestingly enough, I told him what happened about the ambulance coming over. They refused to take me. And he said, look, he kind of gave me some tips and said to me, look, let me have a look at my diary. I've got, quite an easy day today. He cleared his diary, phoned me back and said, I'll be with you within the hour. He turned up in my house, got his table out, sat me down, started to try and, manipulate and help me where he could. Within minutes, he went, dude, you're not right. like, this is really bad. Like, I cannot manipulate you. Your muscles are now gone into serious fight or flight system, so to speak. They're so tight now. I cannot do anything, and I don't want to do anything because it may cause it to tighten up even more. And we talked about this possibility of Cauda Equina. Never heard of it before, but he said, you need to go to A&E. As we're having this conversation, my wife turns up. They know each other. He had a conversation, but he even said to me as he saw me, as he came into the apartment, I opened the door and I walked from the front door to the living room. This is a professional private physiotherapist. He's not a doctor. He's incredible at what he does. He looked at me and went, this isn't right, mate. This isn't just a standard sciatica. And I told him about my foot, what had happened. I told him about the numbness. And when he, just looked at me, he couldn't even do anything because I was in so much agony. He couldn't even do anything. He went, I'm taking you to A&E. This is when Lucy walked in. We went straight to A&E. Now, the journey from A&E, from my house to the hospital, is 10, 15 minutes. So it's not far. It's the next junction. So it's not far from where I am. By that time, we got into his car. We drive to the hospital. My left foot goes numb, completely numb, and this floppy. So my foot dropped. I cannot walk now. So this is the point where now I cannot walk. And I'm freaking out because I'm like, I said to him, dude, I can't move my foot. I can't walk. And he went and got a wheelchair. I managed to hobble myself into this wheelchair. And I'm in agony by this point. So I'm in A&E, as some of you may or may not know, whether you're UK or somewhere else. A&E can be a wait. It can be a bit of a wait. And I was there for a few hours. I got there in the afternoon, maybe about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, UK time. By the time I got some form of diagnosis, it was about 10 o'clock in the evening. In between that time, the pain was getting worse. The numbness was getting worse. And I started to notice that me being able to urinate was just getting that little bit harder. It wasn't as easy. So they had to give me some drugs, some painkillers, because I was in so much pain. And then they couldn't actually do any checks on me, because by this point, I couldn't sit in any position other than in the wheelchair. That's it. I couldn't sit anywhere else. And I could only sit slightly on my side, either left or right, whichever position. And that's where I found comfort. I could not sit anywhere else. And when I found that comfort, I could not move, because if I did, I'd be in agony and I'd probably start crying or screaming. So thankfully, they started to kind of give me some medication. They had to give me some seriously strong stuff, because in order for them to diagnose me, they had to do the checks, but they couldn't do it because they started to realize very quickly that I'm in a hell of a lot of pain. So they gave me the medication. As soon as it kicked in, they did the checks. And one of the checks is they stick your finger up your bum to check to see whether I'm losing strength in that area, bowel and bladder. Now, with Cauda Equina Syndrome, what starts to happen is you start to lose these sensations. And very quickly, I think the nurse who did the checks on me the doctor that did the check on me realized very quickly, okay, this is a high possibility that this is Cauda Equina Syndrome. Now, they didn't do an MRI scan on me that evening, but they kept me in overnight. The next morning, which is now Tuesday, the 26th of September, 23, they did the MRI scan as soon as they could. As soon as they did the MRI scan, they got the results pretty quickly, and it was positive, or it was confirmed it's Cauda Equina Syndrome. So let me explain what that is. Cauda Equina Syndrome is a very, very rare condition. In the UK, there are between 300 to 600 cases per year. So it's, considering there is 67 million people in the UK, it's minuscule. It's extremely, extremely rare. As I understand it today, what happens is I have so my kind of degenerative disc. I'm sorry, I can't say the word. That disc slipped. Now, as I understand it, when you have a slip disc or the disc herniates, it herniates outwards. Now, the rarity with Cauda equinus is it herniates inwards. So it traps the nerve, and what it does, the longer and longer it stays that way, not only then it starts to create damage to the nerve, but as I described through the journey, I start to get these numbness and these sensations through my body. So it starts, obviously, as you've been listening, literally from the bottom of my feet, and it starts to go upwards, 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 to then being in a position where I lose full bowel and bladder control. Now, I'm at Lister Hospital by this point, and the results came back positive that yes, it is Cauda Equina Syndrome. And they were like, okay, look, we're in conversations with Addenbrooke's, which is in Cambridge, and we're going to blue light you from here to there, which is probably about, if you're driving normally, 45 minutes to an hour. So they blue lighting me over there because, as it's Cauda Equina, and as I understand it today, you have to operate very, very quickly. So we're now getting ready, packing everything that I need. And here is where I got really, really scared. I have never been to the hospital for anything. Minor little things, minor things. I might have, banged a leg, or, I might have hurt myself in some way, but never had an operation, never broken anything. I tore my shoulder once, like a centimeter. So nothing major. I've never had an operation in my life. I'm sat in bed. We're kind of getting ready to go. And I say to the nurse, listen, I really need a wee. I need to go to the toilet. She gives me this little box, this little cup thing. And I try to go and can't really feel much. So I say, well, look, I don't, maybe I'm just don't really need to go. Gave her this little cup back with very little in there. I'm just kind of waiting around. Next thing I look down and I am covered in wee. I've lost bladder control, completely lost my bladder control. And as a man, as a 42-year-old man who has always been strong, healthy, I've always looked after myself mentally, physically, spiritually, has never had any major issues, that petrified me. It petrified me because I'm looking down at myself and I'm going, I've literally pissed the bed. And the shame, the embarrassment, the remorse, I kept apologizing and going, oh my, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. And these nurses, they're amazing because they do this day in and day out. And they looked after me. They made me feel very comfortable. And I then get into the ambulance and get blue lit to the hospital. And I get to the hospital now. So this is now a journey. So this is, by the time I get to Addenbrooke's, this is now about 9 o'clock in the evening on Tuesday. And they're debating on whether to operate on me that evening or the next day. So I'm having conversations, they're checking bloods, doing the usual things, talking to me. Are you feeling? What's your sensations? And I'm describing everything I've been describing, but it's getting worse. And they said to me, are you feeling any sensations around your bum? I said, well, yes, but I have been sat down for ages. And they said, okay, look, we need to just do some checks. I knew exactly what that check was going to be. It was the finger up the bum. So I get into a comfortable position. The doctor sticks her finger up and she says, okay, squeeze. And I turn to her and say, squeeze. I can't feel anything. Pulls the finger out. She says, we're operating on you tonight. They all then get together, start having the conversations like we're taking you up in the next 20 minutes. Here's the thing. As soon as this happens, as soon as I lose bowel and bladder control, as I understand it from the doctors and a doctor who we also know, I have 48 hours in order to decompress the disc away from the nerve. Why? Because if I don't, there is a huge possibility that I will end up paralyzed from the waist down forever. No sense, no feelings, complete loss control of bladder and bowel, completely. So the fact that that had happened. They took me straight up to theatre. I got operated on. And I came around the next day, and I'm in the ward, and I'm looking down at myself, and I looked at my feet, and I went, what the hell has happened to me? A few days ago, I'm walking, I'm in pain, but I'm walking. And all of a sudden, I wake up in a ward and I can't move. The only thing that's working are my quads, the muscles at the front of my legs, the top of my legs. That's it. The consultant comes in and says, how you feeling? I was like, groggy, but I'm good. He says, are you in any pain? I said, absolutely not. He says, can you move? I said, no. The only thing I could do was to bring my knees towards me. So I could move my legs, but that's it. That's as far as I could do. And my legs were like jelly. So because my quads were still working, that's the only reason I could do my legs. Everything else had switched off. And what I mean by switched off, I could squat about 140 kilos. I could deadlift. I was never kind of like, wasn't by this point, I wasn't really training for heavy lifts, but I could probably deadlift about 170, 180 kilos. I could lift. I've always been very strong. So going from that to all of a sudden looking at my legs, and I kid you not, my muscles switched off. They went to nothing. It was literally skin. And at the back of my legs, it's still like that a little bit. I've been doing exercises, so things are kind of waking back up, but I will get to that in the next few episodes. And honestly, I cannot describe to you how scared and petrified I was talking to the consultant and looking at myself and thinking, am I going to be paralyzed for the rest of my life? Now, tune into part 2, because I'm going to take you through the conversation with the consultant and things that have kind of happened, in the early days of me being in the ward, and the conversations that I've had with consultants, doctors, physios especially, and how I had to handle these situations. So I hope that you've enjoyed this. I hope that it's bringing some awareness to you around, Cauda Equina Syndrome. It's a very rare syndrome, but I think it's a condition that I really want to get light on, because I'm part of a group which is a charity for Cauda Equina Syndrome, and there is incredible people there who have gone through this journey. And every single journey, as I've been looking at and as I've been learning about, it's completely different. Every single person has been completely different, and the diagnoses have been completely different. The knowledge that gets shared seems to me as well that it can be different. And I really want to try as much as I can just to share my personal experiences, the things that I've been doing up until now. And today being the 8th of November, 2023, I just want to try and bring some light into this and share my experience, and in hope that it might help someone. So I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you have, like, share, leave your comments. I just want to share some of this information, and I want to share this journey because I think it's so important for us to realize, and I will get to this further down the line, and I'll explain it in other episodes, that there is nothing that can buy health. And I've realized that, and I'll go into details of that further down the line. Have an amazing day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And I hope that you have a glorious day filled with health, wealth, and abundance. And I'll speak to you very soon. Take care.